G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talks Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 22nd of June 2026. Now the Ukrainians have decided to take even more information off the map, which means we don't know the results of the Russian airstrikes today because they haven't updated. But there are some updates. There is renewed fighting in Kupiansk, actually continued fighting in Kupiansk. Continued fighting in the Lyman area. Attacks on Kremensk. Continued offensive actions in Krasnokovia, though the Ukrainians are not reporting any Russian advances. The Russians have actually taken most of Preshnikovia again. They are patrolling the riverbanks and beginning the clearing out of this area of Ukrainian infiltrators. The Ukrainians are hiding in makeshift they've dug out basically concealed areas for operations. Basically, Ukrainians have decided they want to be hunted down and killed rather than, properly defend their country. This is why they're not winning. They carry out desperate actions thinking they're going to be heroes. Well, dead men don't produce children. You are being... It's Zelensky sending you to death by Russian so he can replace the population. That's why he's prolonging this war. You watch. You've been warned. All right, so there is some movement at Dnipro. There's some movement here as the Russians continue to push. Now, there is virtually no update on this map. There are other maps. I'm not going to go through them all. Just know that sometimes on the map, such a large map, that any advance is going to be between 24, although sometimes longer, before there's any update. But as of today, the Ukrainian news is reporting mass blackouts in Donetsk, Kherson. There were 6 areas without power. Kremensk was not the only place that was shelled. And like I said, Like I said, this breakthrough was all about long-range artillery at Kremensk. It was not the only one that came under sustained and direct fire from artillery. Lyman and the north, this area here supposedly also were shelled. Kherson, Kharkiv. Now, part of the reasons actually is Ukrainians' own actions in Zaporozhye against the Zaporozhian power plant, causing a shutdown, which led to system-wide failures in Ukraine. Energy workers, mostly foreigners, are working around the clock to restore power. Many energy facilities, see, not just Zaporozhye, but also Sumy, Kremenev, There for about power. So now he wants 6 billion. Yeah, another 6 billion. Yay! More money to Zelensky and his cohorts. Before I continue, Empire Valves, that's one word, empirevalves.myshopify.com, your one-stop shop for enchanting treasures based on my writing. That's Empire Valves by David Applegate. That's the name of the series. The first book is The Boyhood of Cade. Yes, Russia hit Ukraine with, well, but you might say, oh, it's only 100. Yeah, but see, they don't need to send more. That's the point. Ukraine lose a lot of them. Russia's losing less drones, so they're more efficient at bombing Ukraine. 80 drones have been downed since midnight, over 300 in the last 24 hours. Zelensky has doubled down on his ultimatum. He is essentially declaring war on Ukraine. He's threatening violence against... Ukraine is threatening violence against Belarus. Wait a minute. And, of course, Europe doesn't stick to its principles. And so we are marching towards World War III just because Zelensky has a chip on his shoulder. He is losing. This is what losers do. Okay? Remember when Hitler thought he had the world. And what did he do? Decided to go into Russia. Now, yes, Russia without American production probably would have suffered I wouldn't say humiliating defeat, but would have suffered a lot worse. And the victory would have taken much longer. Now, again, we can't say exactly, but the point of America entering World War II was not the attack on Pearl Harbor, but it was only the excuse to break Congress's deadlock, because in reality, they didn't want neither Russia nor Germany to dominate Europe. Now, Russia has shown that it can strike with Iskander missiles with impunity near impunity into Ukraine, because the Patriots and other air defences are all concentrated around Kiev to protect the political. Now, there are probably some industrial centres. I mean, there are 4 Patriots, but overall, no. And without European support, Ukraine would be a dust bowl by now. So, Europe, I mean, Ukraine is the mouse that roared, and Europe is using it as a proxy. So technically, Ukraine isn't winning. They are merely the glove on the aggressive fist of UK, Poland, Germany, and France. All those drones that Ukraine launches, they're not producing them. They're receiving them. All their fuel, they don't produce it. They receive it. All their ammunition, they don't produce it. They receive it. Now, if Ukraine wasn't landlocked and had to rely on its ports, it would be dead. It would be dead. If Russia had opened up, if the last thing Ukraine wants is a second front, because Belarus, probably more North Koreans would just open up a much larger front and put more of Ukraine under direct fire. It is ridiculous. He keeps daring and bullying. He's using that passive aggressive of daring people to act and then saying, you're a bully when you do, right? That's the cowardice of a little man, you know? Hit me, hit me, hit me. Oh, he's going to hit me, everybody. Look at me. I'm the victim. So you are losing. You have lost. And the only victory left, the moral victory, is to admit defeat on the battlefield. Because I fear not a nuclear strike, but a devastating war that is going to lose, that no one is going to win. But Zelensky does not fear anything because he is set for life. He has his mansions in Florida and Italy and Switzerland. He has his millions in the bank. He has protection from the British establishment, although that didn't work out so well for those people who betrayed Russia. And if you think Russia is harsh for dealing with traitors, what would you do with traitors in your country? Now, if China enters the war, it is catastrophic. Now, I doubt India would enter the war. I doubt any of the BRICS nations want to enter the war. But if they see an opportunity to advance their own cause, they will open up more fuel, more energy than you imagine into Russian. Right now, China is strategically holding back so that it can pick up Russian factories for a bargain. Right now, India and China are vultures. But if their interest is threatened, if a collapse in Russia is imminent, they will rush in. Men, machines, they've already had problems with trains, but those, you watch. China will line the railway and shoot anyone coming near it. Like they did during World War II. 1 million men protecting the railway from German saboteurs. Germany couldn't stop them. See, when Germany was advancing faster than Russia, Russia's trains were paralyzed. All their junctions blown up. The Stukas ruled the air. Now, Ukraine's doing the same thing with drones. Everything Ukraine could do can be revisited on them 12 times over. And if Russia properly enters the war and it's backed by India and China, that doubles production within 48 hours. The Russian economy begins to pick up, but China and India right now are weighing their options. How much of Russia will they acquire after the war? So they are letting Russia suffer. Russia is prepared to suffer and knew they would suffer. The deals are there on the table. Ukraine could see highways within a year, train lines within 2 years, fuel lines within 3, and not have to worry about their economy ever again. But because Zelensky wants to turn Ukraine into New Jerusalem, and he has stated this. This is not some paranoid anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. This is his golden goal. And he has stated this 3 times in the last 3 years. Because he believes Europeans will not protect the Jewish people. So he wanted to create a state for the people fleeing Europe to come to Ukraine instead of Israel, because he believes one of the reasons why there's no peace in the Middle East is Israel is overflowing. That he would take the settlers out of the Middle East and put them in Ukraine. Only he can't achieve peace. If he can't achieve peace Ukrainian interceptor drones, have they stopped they hadn't stopped the Iranian missiles and drones. Like every novelty weapon, whenever a new weapon is introduced, it makes a blip. How long that blip lasts, and if it escalates. Russia introduced new fixed-wing drones that made a blip. They increased the size and range of those drones. That means those drones are effective. So they're increasing the amount of money and effort into those drones. The big 50s, the Su-57 export model. Okay, a lot of countries are buying right now aircraft. I don't blame them. It's a distraction. We're going to see more drones. And we're going to see more jet drones. And we're going to see drones with some sort of basic invasion technology. And these, as we've seen already yesterday, the Lightning II, fired into Koshnikovia, was able to evade ground fire. Ukraine couldn't. Where's the Ukrainian air defense? Ground fire. Now, Ukraine will have to quadruple its air defenses, but so will Russia at the same time. Right now, Ukraine's drone war is going to be a nightmare for them. Right now, Russia is luring Ukraine into a false sense of security with its limited strikes with the Orsk missile. Russian production has not dropped. Now it is at its lowest in the last 3 years, but it has not dropped in any of the latest strikes. That means Russia is getting already outside help. It will only increase. BRICS will not let Russia fail. If Russia fails, BRICS is gone, and the BRICS countries don't want that. But right now, the only country that has started sanctioning US companies, and I believe the sanctions will be today, China is going to start sanctioning US companies. They're going to start sanctioning those in US and Europe that supply US defense contractors. That's the start, but not the end. So the trade war is on, and it's now linked directly to Ukraine, where in the past it was linked to Taiwan. So for the sake of world peace, Zelensky will be either sacrificed or he has to make a sacrifice. And the only way he's going to bring peace to Ukraine is to surround himself with enough of European defense. Because his own people will tear him apart. Because they don't care that they're losing. They don't care that the men are dead. Ukraine is turning into pride paradise. That's all they care about. Keep the Russians away so we can have our independence and our pride parades. So Zelensky's using intersectionality, with the feminists and the all the other sexual politics identitarians. And he is going to systematically destroy Ukraine while they are gleeful about it because, hey, the dead Christians, yay! So you're all being played because there is nothing that comes after. Ukraine is dead. Ukraine is defeated because of Zelensky and his pride. Because I do not see any Ukrainian returning. The majority won't die. They will flee. 200 to 300 a month. Now, half of those die trying to cross the Ukrainian frontier into Poland and Romania because they are killed by Ukrainian border guards. Again, a slaughter of his own men. Ukraine is turning a blind eye. Now, the worst happens in winter because they freeze in the waters trying to cross the borders. The only way Ukraine is going to achieve a meaningful victory is not to retake Crimea, because Russia is going to systematically pluck cities like wings off a fly. You've seen Kostnikovia, what Kostnikovia looks like. It is in ruins. Many towns in Ukraine are empty and in ruins. And Russia is not launching many drones because they just systematically pluck, 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 pluck. And right now, they are doing it very systematically, very slowly, because they believe once they advance, they're doing this because they believe that once they advance, they don't have to retreat, right? That's why they are not racing in, seizing towns, and sorting them out. No, they are pluck, 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 and when it's absolutely clear, when the Ukrainian forces dare not come near them, then they just advance a little bit and then just start plucking away. So they're creating this buffer zone. Time and time again. I also warn you, time and time again, anything happens to Putin, this will be your biggest mistake. Because Zelensky and his fellow cohorts will now be marked for life. The Russians will hunt them down. They will systematically exterminate the Ukrainian leadership. Zelensky several times begged, please don't kill me. And now he's cocky and thinks he can destroy Putin, destroy Russia, destroy Belarus, destroy Crimea. And right now, Putin is pointing them out and saying, look how they're treating the Russians. And people are lining up to kill Ukrainians now. They are calling for missile strikes. They are calling for Kiev to glow in the dark. The average person is linear thinking, and that's so dangerous because all you see is your own horizon. You don't see what lurks below. And when that all bubbles up, when that anger bubbles up, when 1 million volunteers are following the Russian army into Crimea, following boat after boat will be launching. Ukraine will see boat after boat. People will be going to Russian factories to build boat bombs, glide bombs, everything they can to systematically destroy Ukraine, just like they lined up to systematically destroy the Germans. See, until they got near Moscow, until the siege of Stalingrad, Russians were stepping out of the way of the German army and letting them through. But then they fucked up and started killing civilians. That is when Russia turned into the bear that you have poked so many times in history. You have no idea. They invented the word sore loser. So to turn everything into a victory right now is to surrender 4 states because they ain't yours anymore. They haven't been yours since 2014. They've been against you, systematically against you since 2014. What are you going to do when 1 million Russians are sitting there crossing, right? What are you going to do when 1 million Crimeans are sitting there on the beaches waiting for you, shooting at anything with a Ukrainian flag? Because Putin only has to arm the civilians now. That's all he needs to do, just like Stalin. Stalin held back, waited. They don't like me. Oh, they're begging for help. Yeah. And then when they were finally at their lowest ebb, he said, okay, you can have arms. Only 1 in 3 of you, though. Oh, sorry, 1 in 4 of you can have arms. The rest have to pick them up from the Germans. But the army will be behind you, so you turn around, you're dead. And they did. The Russian civilian conscript army did more damage to the Germans than the Russian professional army. They took a lot of casualties, but they're not going to care. They're going to want revenge at any price. You want to avoid that, because then we set humanity back another 100 years. Well, actually, World War II set us way back. But everybody, all they can see is, we've got jet planes out of it. We had jet planes. We would have had them sooner if it wasn't for the fear of military escalation. We would have had jet planes. We all had computers. Instead, government said, with fear of military escalation, we'll bury them in the ground and only keep a few to ourselves. If they didn't need to rebuild the economy, they would still keep jets to themselves and still be keeping computers to themselves if they didn't need to rapidly rebuild the economy and automate. Worse, right? All this drone technology, what are they going to do with it after the war? Yeah, all these terrorists are going to be flooded around the world now with drones, thanks to Ukraine. That's why that's why Europe wants to prolong the war, to figure out what to freaking do with it. To try and burn out Ukraine. Get it off the books. Get everything out of the way so they can figure out how to deal with drones. You want to win? Victory with dignity. Armistice. Right now. That is all. You've been warned time and time again. You keep thinking you're going to win everything. You can't live like that. You can't live with this attitude. Yes, America could storm Russia. Then what? The rest of the world turns against you. That's what. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please support the channel. And support me on Ko-Fi, Patreon, buy my books, buy my merch. None of these people who want the Ukraine war fighting it. They want you to go fight in it. Trust me, when you go find most of these losers who are pro-Ukrainian, they're overweight, they've got nothing to contribute to society, and they're junkies. Politically, morally, and mentally junk. The left wants this war. The best thing you can do is dump them in Ukraine and seal it off and say, yeah, Putin, it's all yours. Neutrality. Europe is done with this war. America's done with this war. Ukraine won't act civilized, won't act reasonably. All they do is want more. Give me more money, please. No. 6 billion, another 6 billion. They just got 9 and 7 and 24 and 240. More. Ukraine is outspending Russia on this war. And Europe is going broke. is broke. Bye for now.